Hey, septic people. I'll post this on my gun channel or Good Luck America. So basically, people that don't have a septic tank don't understand the maintenance, but people that have septic tanks probably understand the basic. I'm going to go over where I live. Of course, the government wants to get involved, and they want to require you to have somebody come out and maintenance your septic to make sure that it's being done right or whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous. I was paying them $200 a year. They come out once every 3 months and they don't do anything. So it was kind of... What you doing, Moki? Did you shut that door? The wind shut the door over there. Horses are out there having a little snack. But I digress. Let's get back to this. So this little thing you see in here is a what's called an air blower. And what that does is it blows air and creates a positive airflow, and it makes the two tanks here that you can't see that are buried. Some of them aren't buried. And there's two tanks there, and by bubbling it keeps air from the smell from backing up into the house. So this little tank right here runs very low voltage. It runs 24 hours a day. And there's a little screen in there. You need to pull it off, and there's an air filter. And when it's quiet and it's running, you don't really think about it. But I like to clean mine, I don't know, at least twice a year, 3 or 4 times a year if I can remember. It's like 2 screws. I got to dig through the bushes to get to it because that's where it was put. But cleaning the air filter will make it run more efficiently because it runs 24 hours a day. And if it breaks down, the smell from your septic tanks will back up into the house and around the house, and it stinks. So you don't want that breaking down. In order to keep it from breaking down, keep the air filter clean. That's the only maintenance you got to do. It's a closed system. I forgot how it's called if you look them up. And then there's these two things right here. So this right here is what's called the Chlorinator. And what I'm going to do now, and that sun is pretty much right on the screen, so hopefully you can see it. So basically you screw this off here, and there's a little tube down here, and inside this tube, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that or not. Hell, I can't even see that at all. So anyway, there's a couple little chlorine tablets in there. And there's holes down at the bottom, so the water kind of runs through here and passes through the chlorine tablets before it gets to this area. And there's a couple tablets in there, so I don't need to replace that, but that's one of the things that you need to check. Always make sure you got chlorine in here, because the water, after it goes through the 2 tanks, it goes down here, it drains through here into here, and then from there there's a pump that pushes it out to the sprinklers. And then the sprinklers spray on the grass out there. And in order to make sure that's clean, you want it running through the chlorine. So, man, I'm amazed at how I can't see anything on the screen with that sun. So, now this tank over here. So this is the tank where the water pump is at. Now, there's a cutoff valve that you can't see back behind here, and I almost forgot to cut it off because if you pull it out without it, the pump goes on. So let me disengage this. And these are called like a disconnect. A lot of places require them if you, like by your water heater, anything that uses a 220 volt. They want, instead of just running off a circuit breaker, they want this. A lot of places to turn this off, you would just go to your circuit breaker panel, click the switch, and it would turn this off. The problem with that, for the safety sallies out there, is they don't want somebody else running behind you saying, hey, the breaker's brown, let me turn this on, and you're holding 220 volts. So by pulling this plug, only you know that it's going to be put in. This is usually required to be close to the item you're working on. So I have one of these right by my water heater. I have one by here, and I'm sure there's one upstairs in a furnace that you pull, and now this thing cannot go on. And I've oiled this before. It's got oil on it, you can tell, to make sure I get good contacts. It's not going to rust. So anyway, so now I know my power to my pump is off. So now I'm going to go back to the pump, and we're going to pull out the water pump, which if you look at my pasture, you'll see those cages to keep my horses from stepping on my sprinkler heads, and that's where the 3 sprinkler systems. So this pump, after the water goes through there with the chlorine tablets, it goes into there and then it's pumped out when it gets full. It's got a little sensor on it. So let's go ahead and pull that sucker out. Now I've already unscrewed it. This, I probably ought to replace this cap. So this, and I can't tell you, these little white tabs here are reflective. I forgot where I got them, but I kicked this, and I mean, I can't even remember the number of times my toe was turned blue running out here in the middle of the night. So that's what the white tape is, reflector. And this is screwed on. Normally it is a, it's kind of like a twist, but I think it's broken or something. And I don't know how hard it is to pull this sucker up and change it, but I ought to change it. So let me get you to take a look down this thing, so what it looks like, in case you have a pump like this. So that's what it looks like. And again, because of the sun, I can't really tell if it's coming out. It's got a valve there, and you see that big gray valve or twist cap? I'm going to twist that off and pull out that whole thing, and you'll see the whole thing when I twist it off and pull it out. Now, some people could be out here, you should have gloves on, and you, okay, well I probably should, but I don't, so get over it. Alright, so let's pull this sucker out. If you pull this out when the power is on, your pump will spin up. You don't want a water pump spinning up without water. The water is the cooling system, you'll burn out your pump. So, I simply twist that cap that I showed you. And my pump comes out. Now, when I had this, it had wires and all kind of crap. So I just used zip ties to keep my wires, because all these wires are loose. So these two, and again, hopefully I'm in camera here. These two are floats. And when this thing floats up, it tells it it's full, and then the pump kicks on, and as it drains the water out, this goes here. This one, I guess when it gets down to here, the pump goes off, meaning it's out of water, so it doesn't run dry. So this much water keeps water around the pump. When it fills up to here, it kicks on till this goes back down. Now cleaning this sucker, and I wash my hands afterwards. I know it's sewage and blah, 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 whatever. So you can tell, and I might be able to get a good picture of that. You really need to keep this clean, because these little vents right here that suck in the water will get clogged up. And you can tell that's pretty dirty. That is actually the dirtiest I've ever seen my vents. I'm kind of surprised, because usually there's just a little bitty piece there. And that is the most I've seen on my vents. And they're pretty easy to clean. So that one's clean. That one's clean. That one's clean. And that one's clean. And that's how you clean it. That's all I have to do. Now I'm going to put it back down there. And for those people always say, get stainless steel, it won't rust. Well, I got news for you. Stainless steel will rust, people. So, you see that right there? That's rust. That ain't dirt, that's rust. So, stainless steel does rust. Now what I'll do is I'll make sure I don't want to get any dirt and grime down in there. Give it a couple more squirts off. Make sure there's no dirt on the bottom on here. Then I'll slide it back down in there. Making sure my wires don't get tangled up, and my floats are both free floating. And then I screw that cap back on. I'll let you take a look at it with the cap off on how that's got to screw back in there. So now I'm going to reconnect that male-female right there. Make sure it's good and tight. You don't want that coming off. It's under pressure when that pump kicks on because it's pumping out to the sprinklers. And that is your maintenance. And that's a hell of a lot better maintenance than they do when you pay them a monthly fee. Because when you pay them a monthly fee, they come out, they don't even open that. They unscrew the cap and go, your chlorine's low. Or they look at your pump and go, the bushes are around your pump. You need to trim your bushes. We couldn't inspect it. And that's what I was paying $200 a year for. So I stopped that. County hasn't come after me yet. If the county comes after me, I'll challenge it. We'll go through court and I'll see if we can't get a, you know, saying, hey, if I'm trained, I shouldn't have to pay somebody else a monthly fee just because you approve them. Because they went, I'll go through the same training they went through and I'll do it my damn self. So anyway, I haven't had to deal with that yet. So I'll hook that back up, put my lid on, reconnect my power, and that is about all the maintenance you need to do with this system. Now obviously if you look out and your sprinkler heads aren't spraying or they're stuck, or I always spray grass killer around the sprinkler heads because I don't want them growing grass because then it affects the sprinklers. So I always got to keep that grass cut down and usually spray it with some sort of weed killer. It always grows the greenest, and my horses love it because it's always the greenest grass. So I gotta be careful when I'm doing. I'll lock that pasture off for a couple days so they don't eat the sprayed grass. But other than that, that is how you manage. Now this is called, crap, I should have looked it up. Maybe I'll slide in a little thing on what this is. It aerobic, anaerobic? This is an aerobic, whatever. There's a lot of the older septics are what's called leach systems, and they have leach lines. So you don't have a pump and you don't have the chlorine, and your waste just goes out along these long leach lines and it absorbs into the ground. They're not as clean or as environmentally friendly. Most counties and cities require this type of system if you're putting in a new system. They won't let you put in the old leach lines. Those are pretty much gone away. They want you to use power and electricity and pumps and chlorine and all that other stuff. So anyway, that is it on cleaning your water pump. We'll end that there.